Well, hello, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I appreciate each and every one of you guys, as well as you ladies. Hope everybody's having a great day, and I'm here Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that are out there. And I'm here working on the red brick house for a few hours, getting the space clear and ready for the guys to hang drywall here, as we are beginning to see daylight here at the red brick house. It's been, here's what's funny about construction. The average person won't see changes of the electrical and the plumbing, rough ends, or the framings and things. It doesn't look like there's actually much work done. But you hang a couple sheets of drywall, all of a sudden people say, oh man, you guys are rolling now. And it's like the drywall part, in essence, is easy in comparison to all the other stuff. Now, this is a 203-year-old house, and I want to talk about real estate and real estate investing, because there are places where you can make money on distressed properties, not foreclosures and things like that. A lot of times the government, cities, jurisdictions, states will have properties that were in use for a number of years and have outlived their usefulness. For example, in Stanton, Virginia, which is a very historic location, they had a prison there that was a huge prison. The problem is the place was no longer being used, and they didn't have a use for it. And the amount of money that would go into trying to repurpose it, the city itself of Stanton decided it's not worth it for us to try and do the rehab. It's full of asbestos and things like that. So what they did was they sold it for $1. Literally $1. Now, 8-9 years later, that property has been gutted out by a developer and turned into condos. Great condos, upscale condos. And for the city, instead of them investing millions of dollars on trying to renovate this property and not have a use for it, because they're not in the business of building residential properties, it would have to be something that they would do for themselves. They instead sold it for that $1. And you say, wow, they just lost out on that thing. They could have, developed it themselves. Well, if they were in the development business, yes. But in all actuality, they actually made off better by selling it to somebody else and letting them do the work, because they're getting paid the tax revenue. Yeah, now that the property is worth a whole lot more money, they didn't have to do anything to end up increasing their revenues. And there's lots of properties that are out there that are like that. For example, you could go to Baltimore, Maryland, and literally for, $10,000-$15,000 just about buy up a block if you want to invest your time and your money into fixing it. For me, I had never been into any kind of a property like that. I've bought foreclosed properties before and distressed properties and ones that people literally don't want. That for me has always been the thing, is because I haven't had a lot of money where I could say, oh, I've got $500,000, I'll go ahead and buy a fixer-upper. For me, it was buying the lowest tier stuff, the stuff that nobody else wanted, that pretty much they were just trying to get rid of, and go through, gut it out, rebuild it, turn it into a great space. And I've been doing that here for 20 years now. This will be 20 years. I've probably rehabbed completely about 12 houses, and I want to say that I've built 4 other ones, and hopefully this summer we'll be building another duplex, because there's a lack of housing here. So, enter this house. This red brick house, the city owned. They originally purchased it in the 1950s because they thought originally the main street through the town was going to be right here. And so they were looking to go ahead and have to widen the street, destroy the houses and everything else. The plans changed. Main Street is now down there further. So they had the property and they used it as a rental property from the 50s on, until it just got dilapidated. It's just in bad shape. And with the Walnut grocery store going in over there, there were 2 other houses that were over here that were destroyed. And they decided it's not worth us to try and renovate this thing to be a rental property. We're not landlords. We're not property owners. And they thought the best thing to do was just tear it down, sell the land, and be done with it. And to do that, they were going to have, they actually had it scheduled to be destroyed. A lot of people think that all you need is a flagman and a bulldozer to push over a house. That's not actually the case, because you have utilities, so you got gas lines and electric lines and cable and water lines. Those things actually have to be cut and capped first. They got to cut the sewer line, they got to cut the water main, got to turn the electric, because you come in with the bulldozer. And here's the funny thing about a bulldozer is you can't just use a bulldozer on a 2-story building that's got a basement. The bulldozer would go down. You'd need a little bit more equipment. And since it is 16-inch thick brick walls, there's quite a bit of debris that's in there. But be that as it may, they had it scheduled and had a contract for $26,000 to destroy it and haul it away. And they would have sold it at that time. The lots at that time probably would have been, probably could have sold it for about $35,000. Quarter-acre lot. That's about what they were going for then. So basically, for the city, had the city done that, they would have basically broken even. It would have just broken even, that's it. Instead, they gifted it to the Red Brick House Committee, which were some incredible people that they had the vision of wanting to save the place because they understood the historic value and didn't want to see it just torn down, like so many other historic structures. But they did not have the wherewithal and the skills to put it together. And I worked with them. So they gifted it to me. Now, in order to fix this place, by the time it's all said and done, between the getting the zoning changed, the architectural drawings, the demo that we've done in here, the heating and air conditioning, the electric, the plumbing, the framing, the drywall, the new siding that's going to come, the new roof, it will be over $100,000 that will have been invested into this property. $100,000 to save it. Not a bad investment, mind you, because trying to find a house these days is not cheap. Still, it's cash money that's going into it. For the city, it ends up being a house, instead of having to spend or break even, it's a house that the assessed value was $58,000 for all of these years before the renovations. They collected taxes on the house each year. So they didn't have to put any money out, and they collected taxes. When it's done, the assessed value will go way up above $58,000, in which case they'll be collecting even more tax money. On top of it, you've now saved a historic landmark that we will get registered in the National Registry. So from my point of view, this is a win-win for everybody. People slow down, they stop by. Hey, what are you going to do with the place? Oh, I'm so happy it's being saved. It's going to be a great place for the community. It's going to be part here of downtown's historic zone. It's going to create another place for people to live in a much needed jurisdiction. It will increase revenue for them, and it helps me to continue with this becoming the Woodbore construction, to have an office and a place that's a home base to continue to build more to help. So if you're looking for a way of you can get the properties cheap. Problem is you've got to invest a whole lot of time and a lot of money. And if you're looking at getting a prison, you're going to need millions of dollars to be able to do something like that. But if you have the wherewithal, it's a great way of investing. I was once told, the good Lord, he ain't making no more dirt. And 80% of the richest people in the world own real estate. In fact, I met one of the descendants, the Beverly family. The Beverly family, back in the 16 and 1700s, was one of the wealthiest landowners in Virginia. They owned pretty much all of what is this county here, including the land where this house was built. And again, land was power. And if anybody asks me what the best investment in the world is, I'm always going to say, one, get your buckets. Don't, diversify. But make sure one of those buckets are real estate. That's for sure. Have a great day. And if you got skills that you can do a lot of the work like I do, that'll help save you a whole lot of money, because my broke behind can't afford all of the guys that I would need if I didn't have the skills to do the plumbing, the electrical, the framing, the cabinetry, and so on. But hey, find a way.